Today's voiceover talent is more than just a pretty voice. Today's voiceover talent has to be a boss, a VO boss. Set yourself up with business owner strategies and success with your host, Ann Ganguza, along with some of the strongest voices in our industry. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss.
Welcome to the VO Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Ann Ganguza, along with my beautiful co-host, Gabby Nistico. Hey, Gabby.
Hey, Ann.
Gabby, I am truly excited today to talk to someone that I have known for years in the voiceover industry, and I like to think of her as being a pioneer of a lot of things. Voice talent, podcast host, extraordinaire, Trish Bassani. Trish, thanks so much for joining us.
That's probably one of the best introductions I have ever had. Thank you.
Well, it's true. It's true. I really have been following you for years, and I've always considered you to be a pioneer in this industry. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about yourself and our listeners, how you got started in the business and how you've evolved over the years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, how much time you got, first of all? No. I started kind of dabbling in the business in 1999. I did radio part-time. I was in corporate accounting for a full-time job. I went to college for a little while, but I didn't wind up getting a degree. I just didn't have the focus for it. And I also didn't know what I wanted to really do. So me continuing to spend money on, for college credits that would probably never be used was kind of pointless for me. So I wound up just going into the workforce when I was like 19. I was just kind of lost. And so I got into radio, and I was just an intern for a little while, and then they put me on the air, and one of my friends visited me during one of my air shifts and said he was listening to me on the way to the radio station and said, "Oh, you should check out voiceover. You have a really great voice." And I was like, "What's that?" And again, this was 1999, and he's like, "Well, yeah, voiceovers, commercials and that sort of thing." And I'm like, "Okay." So I did my research online, got a coach, blah, blah, blah. And fast forward 5 years, I did it part-time here and there. Sent down my demo to a million places in New York and in New Jersey, which is, my home area. And in 2004, I quit my very last day job, a corporate accounting job, and went full-time with VO. I was still doing radio part-time for the next couple of years. But yeah, VO has been my only sole income since 2004, and it's been a wild ride.
Wow.
I think, Ann and I both have kind of been there throughout and watched and seen, and we were talking earlier about how much we love your marketing and how just an incredible journey you've been through with marketing your brand and how iconic and memorable you've become. And we talked a little bit about Trish the Dish and how that's, you said you're kind of starting to get away from that a little, but tell us a little bit about your branding process, how some of that came about, the highs, the lows, all the good stuff.
Well, early on, I just kind of had, a basic kind of clip art thing that most people, when you're working on a super low budget, you just kind of throw together. And then I found someone named Nikki Sacco, who you guys may be familiar with. She's also a voiceover talent. She does Spanish VO, and she is also a graphic artist. So I somehow connected with her back in like 2008, I think. And we sat down basically, or, virtually sat down. She's in Florida, and kind of went over my ideas. And I wanted to do Trish the Dish and do Purple, because Purple is like a passion of mine. It's just like, it's probably a little scary. It's like
Purple is my first remembrance of you, for sure.
Yeah.
That of your brand.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's by design, but it's also just something that I just naturally feel, towards it. So, yeah. So Nikki really came up with most of it. I mean, I gave her Trish the Dish as a moniker, the idea of a dish, And I basically let her run with it. And she came back with some really great and cool ideas. If anybody is familiar with my logo, it's a dish with chopsticks. And it's got like a swak, like a lipstick print. And we originally tried a fork instead of the chopsticks, and it just didn't. The fork didn't work. So there was something about the angular feature of the chopsticks that you can take the two of them and cross them and like put them in different things, and that's kind of how we wound up with it. So yeah, we tried a few fonts, but it really didn't take that long. It was really, I was pretty pleased with most of the stuff that Nikki came back with. So, it kind of happened pretty quickly, and she just gave me all of the versions for my business card and for postcards and the regular logo and different background colors, and we just kind of went from there. And I've been using it ever since, and it's been 9 years.
Wow.
And you ran with it. You plastered that puppy.
Oh yes.
We're talking longevity, and I do want to come back to the purple, because I think you were purple. And purple in your hair, purple everywhere. Before it was even like now it's a thing. You know what I mean? But you were like years ago, you already had purple in your hair, and that was such a trademark for you, and really I think helped you to evolve that brand. And I commend you for having a brand that's lasted 9 years. And you did mention a little bit about how you're evolving, which I think is great as well.
Yeah, I've been thinking about maybe altering it a little bit. I'm starting to get a little older. My voice isn't as young and fun as it was. Basically, I've been kind of, getting more of the mom roles or the middle-age roles. And that's, it happens. It's, you kind of have to, denying it is not going to do you any good, because you're just not going to book anything then. So, at least for, that's how I feel, is like, all right, well, it's just something that comes with life, and you get older and your voice gets a little older.
It happened to me too.
Yeah, and you just kind of have to go with it. So I like the whole Trish the Dish. I still have clients that email me going, "Hey Dish, what's up?" Or can you do this for me today or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, honestly, it could be another 3 years before I do anything.
It's smart, though. I mean, Trish, we were just talking about this. You were ahead of the curve on the purple and the hair branding and the personal brand aspect of things. And now you're ahead of the next curve. You know that it's coming. You're aware. I think it's fantastic. I'm excited. I look forward to seeing, where it heads and what's next in that evolution.
It's funny, though. I mean, like, just thinking about the idea of changing my logo that I've had for so long, it's still fresh to me. Like, it's still something that I really like. And so changing it would be hard. If anything, it wouldn't be a total, it wouldn't be a 180 by any means. It would be more of just like a refresh, It would be still similar to, and I would stick with the colors and stuff. But, it's so odd. But when I look at my business cards and my, the website and it hasn't gotten old for me. Just the logo itself is still really fresh and cool, and I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm attached to it, So I might have to start actually talking to people that are a little further removed from it, and just to get some real opinions.
I think it really has become part of you, and I think it's actually smart to maybe not change it completely, because if you think of the evolution of like Coke or Pepsi, right, throughout the years, I mean, the main essence of it remains the same, because I do believe that it's really an inherent part of you and an inherent part of your personality, and so. And the fact that you love it so much, that says a lot. And it's too hard, I think, to completely change, and there's a lot invested in your brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. The purple thing kind of just happened. I actually did start that in 2008. It was right before the Voice conference.
Yeah. I remember that.
You did.
Yeah, and it was it was like the week before I left for LA, and I found a new hair guy from one of my girlfriends at the time that was dyeing her hair fire engine red because she was the local rock chick on the rock station, and she was doing the fire engine red bangs and I was like, oh, who does your hair? And so I wound up seeing my hairdresser Austin for the first time, a week before I went to Voice, and I still like it.
And it still looks great. I mean, and now it's
Thanks.
now it's all over the place, you know. But
Yeah.
you were the first. I'm telling you.
It's good to know.
So tell us a little bit about your podcast. Tell us a little bit about the Voiceover Cafe. We know that that's been very successful. You've been doing it for a while.
Terry and I started back in 2006 when we had never even met in person. We met online, just kind of in voiceover, the voiceover circles that existed even before Facebook, before Voiceover Universe. We were doing the same. We were marketing each other, not marketing each other, marketing ourselves the same way. And so we actually came across each other a few times. And he reached out and said, "Hey, I kind of want to do this podcast." And I'm like, "What's a podcast?" This is 2006. This is that years ago.
Yeah.
And so that kind of just mutated into this really cool show that was called Voiceovers on Demand. And then we took a hiatus for about 4 years or so, and then kind of picked the idea back up, rebranded it the Voiceover Cafe, added a couple of people, and kind of turned it into a bit of a fun radio drama at times, but also talks, sometimes we have guests, sometimes we have, it's just us. We do a roundtable discussion. Sometimes we'll do little skits. We haven't done really skits in a while, but the other guys on the show are Jordan Reynolds, me, it's Terry Daniel and me and Sean Caldwell, Peter Bishop, and Matt Kolrick. So we just kind of,
great group.
Yeah.
It's
What a
they're
great
really
group.
fun guys, and we have fun. So we're not as disciplined when it comes to recording. It's a lot of fun for us. We don't make any money from it, so it's kind of more of just a labor of love. And I actually do the post-production on the show. So whenever we do the recording, I'm the one that does the post on it, for editing, doing the beds and putting the intros and outros and everything. So I do the production on the show. The guys just show up, and
Of course.
sorry, they're gonna get me for that one.
They are.
But Terry's tough to pin down. He's really busy, and it's hard. I can't host the show by myself. We tried that once, and it wound up being a total disaster because I just don't have that kind of talent. Honestly, I don't have that skill of herding cats. Basically, is what you have to do when it comes to that many people, six
Yeah,
people
you do
on the
have a lot of
line.
people. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we just kind of basically we just do what we can, and sometimes Sean Caldwell fills in as a host when Terry can't make it or isn't available. So it's voiceovercafe.org if you want to check it out. We did one show. There's been a joke going around. So we hosted, as you may know, the Voiceover Mixer.
Yes, just recently.
In New York City. So we put our name on it, but there's a joke going around that we throw more parties than we do shows per year, and that's true.
a brand.
As of last
It's a
year,
brand.
we did one show in May of this year, and that was it. And I don't think we're going to get another one out before the end of the year.
Well, 2018 is coming, so
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
an impressive
So
group.
we'll see.
It's an impressive group.
It is.
And again, I have to say though that longevity and being pioneers. I mean, in voiceover podcast, you would think, right? Voiceover artists, we would have there would be around every corner you'd have another podcast. But in reality, that's not the case. And you guys were probably the very first one that I can even think of.
I think we were.
Yeah,
that I know of. It was so weird because me and Terry were at Voice, and we just happened to be riding in the elevator together, and this couple is riding in the elevator with us, and they're whispering to each other. And all of a sudden the guy, the husband kind of chuckles, and he looks at us and he's like, "Are you guys Terry and Trish from Voiceovers on Demand?" And we lost it. I mean, it was so bizarre. And that was from Voiceover Universe. I think that we really got our start with that. And then once we rebranded, people, not a lot of people, I mean, people show up at the mixer and they're like, "What's the Voiceover Cafe?" And I'm like, "Oh God. All right, we got some marketing to do on this."
But I remember, Trish, back in the day, you were also one of the first people to really be on Twitter. You started the whole voiceover industry being on social media. Why was it important? People are like, "What's Twitter? What do I need to be on Twitter for? Or what do I need?" I think you focused primarily on Twitter in the beginning, right?
I did. Yeah, definitely. I made a lot of clients, met a lot of clients, and made a lot of money actually on Twitter. And a lot of times that would be the topic that I taught on when I was asked to speak at different conferences and stuff. So people got to know me pretty well with that. But honestly, I'm single and I have kids. It was like, well, social media was just a norm for me. Like it was, I didn't have work any other responsibilities. So, it was like, well, I might as well just check this out. And I'm also a night owl. So even when I'm not out socializing, a lot of my friends obviously can't stay out until 2 a.m. during the week, and so I'm up. So social media was great for me because when I was done working, like voicing, I would do marketing on social media, and I just really latched onto it. It was fun for me, and I still love Twitter. I don't use it as often as I used to, but I kind of go in phases with the different avenues, of social media.
So what are your thoughts now about social media and marketing today for your voiceover business?
They're still really huge, but I use actually LinkedIn for the most part these days. And honestly, I just do a lot of research online, like not even with social media. Like I market, I market myself, I guess, by putting my stuff out there on social media a little bit, but I have been getting a lot of good responses and getting some really good clients by actually reaching out directly, not people finding me on social media. I've more, just gotten into going on LinkedIn, or the old Google search still works. Like, just going and doing searches for, ad agencies. I have a couple of niches, like I do a lot of medical commercials. There's actually ad agencies that specify in just only take medical clients, and that's basically all that they do. And the same thing goes for like casinos. There's gaming ad agencies and that sort of thing. So I kind of found a few niches or niches, and I have a lot of
we always
friends,
discuss niche or niche. We're always discussing that.
Yeah. Reaching out directly and just shooting them an email, honestly. I rarely pick up the phone anymore. I found that email is much less intrusive. And that's actually really what's been working for me. So, Gabby, we were talking about it. You were mentioning evolving, and that's kind of how marketing has evolved for me. So it's kind of been interesting. And I'm not saying I won't go back to social media as a main form, but right now I have what's working right now that's what's working. So I might as well, I'm going to stick with it and see what happens.
You are a take charge chick and most definitely a boss. And that's why we wanted to talk to you, girl. So, hell yeah.
Yay!
How can our listeners get in touch with you, check out what you do, see you on the web, all that great stuff?
It's voiceoversbytrish.com. That's voiceovers plural. You can find me pretty easily.
Well, Trish, thanks so much for taking the time out to talk with us today. I've been a big fan, been following you for lots of years, and thanks so much for really, being out there and pioneering such cool stuff here in the industry. And you've actually been, a source where a really great resource for other talent in the industry to learn from. So thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you, ladies. I appreciate being in that realm. I'm honored, and I see you guys the same way. So it's, hopefully I'll get out there and actually see you guys at some point.
For sure.
Soon. Yeah.
So.
Big thanks to our
right.
sponsor, IPDTL, guys, for our quality connection and recording. You too can find out more at ipdtl.com.
And make sure to check us out on Facebook and iTunes and Stitcher and Twitter and YouTube. Like us, connect with us. We're everywhere. It's not hard to find VO Boss, that's for sure.
And don't forget to come to voboss.com for a specific information on our Boss University classes and our products. We've got some cool new swag coming out. So we look forward to seeing you guys next week, and thanks so much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of VO Boss with your hosts, Ann Ganguza and Gabby Nisterko. All rights reserved. Ann Ganguza voice talent in association with 3 Moon Media. Redistribution with permission. Coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.